the chat of where you are today.
Well, I did see somebody from Slovenia
Yeah, we've
earlier in the
got
chat.
Hungary, Slovenia, exactly. That's what I thought. That's the beauty of the online events that we now have. It's no longer people who just can make it to Cambridge on a Wednesday morning, but actually we can go out so much broader. Okay, we've also got Portugal, fantastic. And so we're seeing a lot of the alumni from different women's leadership programs, as well as some of our members that might have moved away that are now able to reconnect. So welcome one and all. Oh, Helen's in Copenhagen, fantastic. And Italy, yeah, a good international mix this morning. So I'm delighted to welcome you all either to the Impact Women's Network or back to the Impact Women's Network, and to welcome Saskia with us today. Very briefly about the Impact Women's Network, if it's your first time, because there's a couple of names that I don't recognize. We are a network of women professionals. We're about 500 now. I haven't checked the last number, but we were over 450 months ago. And we are united on two fronts. One is we're taking on the system. We believe the system is broken, not the women. As we can see even in our little microcosm here, in all our glorious diversity, we're fine the way we are, thank you very much. But that the system needs to recognize that diversity and value different types of leadership, innovations, and business model. And the other thing we're united over is raising the visibility of all the good work that ourselves and other women do, also recognizing that it's much easier to promote others than it is ourselves. So again, we encourage people to put colleagues, network members up for awards, recognitions. If you need a speaker, please reach out, make sure your panels are balanced and representative, and so on. So we're a network of women for women, but always looking out. We don't offer training, we don't offer development, but actually we get behind causes. Our entire year, as many of you know, has been dedicated to specifically and explicitly to the SDGs. So every month we've taken on a different sustainable development goal. And we come together in as per our interests, really, whoever's interested in issues of social justice or infrastructure or food. We had biodiversity, and we had life below sea, below water, life on land. So again, our interests and our support and our drive for impact is as varied and as diverse as we are. So today we're taking on food, which we did once before as well last year, led by Jill. And that was definitely something that had excited a lot of our members that you'd gotten behind. It was a very different take on the questions and challenges of food. And as you can imagine, in food, there is so much we can do. So it won't be the last time we address food. But Saskia is the communication director of EIT Food. You have her bio and links in the event. So Saskia, please don't take offense. We typically don't introduce our speakers too much to give you the most amount of time to talk and position your talk as you wish it to be. So Saskia, over to you. They're all yours.
Okay, thank you, Shima. Let me share my screen. Well, first of all, good morning, everybody. I'm hoping you can see my screen now, and it should go to presentation mode. Again, good morning all, but thank you for joining today and discussing with me about improving food together. Like Shima said, my name is Saskia Nuiten and I'm the Director of Communication for EIT Food. And of course, I will use this time to tell you more about EIT Food, but first I would like to tell you a little bit about myself. My background is in marketing and communication. Before I joined Food about 10, 12 years ago, I worked more in ICT. And actually, even though a lot of people think that's a really big change, big step going from ICT to food, it actually was not, because food is also about technology and ICT is also about technology. And I'm not scholared in all kinds of technologies. I have a degree in marketing and communication. But what it is about for me is about explaining technologies to people. And that is really something that I also get very passionate about still till today, is taking complex information and converting this into compelling stories, generating interest, and turning this in preference and preferably action. So I've worked and lived in different parts of the world, and currently I'm living in Leuven in Belgium. I am Dutch. Maybe some of you have heard from my accent in my English. And my partner still lives in the Netherlands, so I do travel up and down as much as possible, which is becoming a bit challenging these days with all the red zones flying around between countries. But we do our best. In my role as Director of Communication, I'm responsible for the corporate communications of EIT Food, public affairs and public engagement. And well, obviously I don't do this alone, but I have an excellent team which is spread across Europe. So before COVID, I was already doing a lot of online meetings because I couldn't just go to everybody all the time. But now in the in the current COVID situation, I do everything online. So I sometimes feel like I'm a call center manager these days. So lastly, before I go to my presentation, I would also like to thank Shima for inviting me to your network meeting. She has tried before, and unfortunately I couldn't make it at that point in time. Foolish as we were, we never thought of having me join online, because at that point in time that was just not part of any thinking frame. While now, yeah, everything is online. So looking back on it, I could have joined for an hour online actually, but well, I actually prefer to do it in person, but these days, of course, there's no other option. But I love the opportunity to meet you all, so be it in a virtual capacity. So what am I going to do today? I would like, I crammed a lot in 1 hour as always, but I would like to get a little bit of a taste. So we play around with some knowledge and your motivations around food. Then I will tell you a little bit more about what we do at EIT Food, and I will take you behind the scenes of Food Unfolded. And then as last, I would hope that this has sparked some interest for you to have a discussion on, and you would have a discussion on some of the questions that I put forward. So moving in, this little quiz that I would like to do as a starter, just to get a taste of things. What I do is I also compare your answers with our Food Unfolded audience. I will tell you a bit more about them later, but it's just to know that you know that the average Food Unfolded person, it's actually looking at location, age and gender. Majority are women up to the age of 44, and they come mainly from the UK, Germany, the Netherlands, and Spain. So now I would like to ask you to, if you haven't done that yet, to open up menti.com and go fill in the code to register. And I need to switch between this presentation. Give me a moment, please. Because that is always challenging, because I need to go to another system. And hopefully you can see that now. Can you see the Mentimeter? Great. So what I wanted to do with you as a little bit of a teaser is that we start with a little test. with some questions. So this is just the test question. I believe we're about with 23 people. So if you would like to answer this question, what do you believe is the most commonly eaten type of mushroom?
I'm going to put the code in the chat so that you can just cut and paste it into menti.com if that's easier for you. Otherwise, you're switching between screens. I'm just checking I've copied the right code for you. Yeah, it's
Thanks, Shima.
You now. Does everybody know how to get to menti.com? Just open a browser and go there. If you have any troubles, please holler.
Yes, please. Can you have a look at that, Shima? Because I can't see the chat anymore. Now I'm in presenting mode.
Yeah, I'll keep an eye on that.
Thanks. Okay, we have about 12 answers. I'll give it a few more seconds. This is just, well, they're all just test questions. It's not an exam at school, obviously, but I know that we're with 23, so I can see a little bit if it's working for some or not. So okay, I'm gonna close it and I'm gonna move to the answer. So actually the shiitake mushroom, and I saw that many of you chose the second one, I believe. Let me check, yeah, the button mushroom. But actually, even though in Europe the button mushroom is very big, the shiitake mushroom actually all over the world is the biggest in demand. So bananas, are they grown in Europe? Can you please give your vote? And I will close it because of time, obviously, at some point. So the voting is closed. 67% thought they're not grown in Europe, and 32% thought they're grown in Europe. And actually, bananas are grown in Europe. In Spain is actually our biggest banana producing country. And here is where the comparison comes. Within our Food Unfolded audience, 60% also, so the majority also thought bananas were not grown in Europe. Coffee beans, are they really beans? Please cast your vote. Thank you. And actually, well, everybody had it right, and also online, our Food Unfolded audience, the majority also saw it, that it's not coffee beans. Although we always think, because people expect this is a trick question, we're not sure if it's real knowledge or or people just assume it's a trick question. But actually, the coffee beans are pits, or the seeds of the coffee plant, and the beans are the coffee cherry. So beetles, are they the most commonly eaten type of insects? And they are not. Sorry, they are, but the majority said they were not, 74% not. And with us, actually, most of you said it was actually also the same, that it was not the most commonly eaten insect. So
Saskia, where are they eaten? Because I think we're all very familiar with things like locust and mealworm and things like that, but beetles is not something we necessarily come across. Do you have an idea of where they're eaten?
No, well, it's looked at it from a global perspective, and so if you go, I've lived a long time in Africa, and I can tell you most African diets have all kinds of different beetles. In Asia, it's also more common to eat. So this was just a little flavor of things that we do on Food Unfolded, but we also do a lot with regards to motivation, to try to find out what people think and then try to accommodate that with content. So also would like to run some of these by you. So what motivates you when you buy a product? Is price important for you when you buy food? And of course, there are only two options now for this presentation, but so here the general picture is that if it's presented with these two options, then price is not the most important for you. And actually this also is the case with our Food Unfolded audience, but not as strong as in this audience. And then another option, another item. So not price, but look and taste. Are they important when you buy food? Okay, we're with 13 and 13 voted. So you also had a large majority saying yes, of course. Same with our Food Unfolded audience. So it kind of falls together there. And what about nutritional value? Do you look at health or you eat what you want? So health first with the vast majority here. In line with what our average is coming from Food Unfolded, health first, and I eat what I want is in a lower percentage. Must admit, for me, I eat what I want is usually Saturday evening. So it's a once a week occasion for me, but and then for the rest, I try to be healthy. And what about ethical sourcing? Is that important for you, or do you have other concerns when buying food? Okay. So definitely is coming out very strong with all of you, and also with the Food Unfolded audience. This was just a little game. It will come, well, the game will not come back later, but it's just to give you a little bit of a taste what we are doing. And when I'm taking you behind the scenes of EIT Food, you will also see why we do these kinds of things and how they are important for us from a content point of view. But it's also nice to think about food, what you buy daily, and you just don't really, you just do it. You just don't really think about it. You need to bear with me for a moment because I need to stop sharing this and go back to my presentation. Okay.
While you do that, Saskia, I'm going to read a comment because Naomi makes a very interesting comment about how she chooses health and how health and eat what I want are now very overlapped. I think that's probably a place we all want to be, where what we want to eat and what we should eat are essentially the same things. So thanks for that comment, Naomi.
Yeah, definitely. And it's also something that we see coming back more and more within considerations of people on healthy eating. So back to the presentation, a little bit about, let me tell you a little bit about EIT Food, because I can imagine you're not that familiar with it.
Saskia,
Last
we
question.
Can see your notes.
Sorry?
We can see your notes. Would you like to put it to presenter mode?
Ah, okay. Wait, how do I do that? Yes, I would like that, but I thought I had that. So let me try again. So share screen.
In case you had any surprises coming up, I thought I should let you know.
No, well, you probably assumed that I have speaker notes like everybody. Let me see. And now?
Perfect.
Yeah.
Go for it, yeah.
So the last question said that we talked about what's more on what drives consumer, or in this case, what drives you. And this is key, obviously, for the work of EIT Food. And taking you a little bit in the world of EIT Food, I want to start at the beginning, and that is really the food system challenges. Because if you look at our food system, it faces really major societal, environmental, and economic challenges, and it needs radical solutions. So just think about food in your own way. I mean, food matters. It's essential to everybody. It allows us to survive, but also to thrive, to be active, to have healthy lifestyles, and for many, food is at the heart either of for first thing of your livelihood, but also your cultural identity, family traditions, and celebrations with food. So food is with friends. So food is really, really important. But today our food system is actually in crisis, and it's in need of a radical transformation. Because if you look at it, some of us don't have enough to eat. So I'm going to shower you a little bit with figures. You need to forgive me, but it is important. About 800 million people are undernourished at the moment, but at the same time, we have levels of obesity growing. And today, over 2 billion people are overweight, which is a big imbalance. And the imbalance is even stark for our children, because 35% of children under 5 globally are either under or overweight. And even though many don't have enough to eat, food waste is actually also a significant issue, because about a third of the world's food ends up in our rubbish bins. And much of this goes to a landfill, which also obviously causes environmental damage. But food is lost and wasted along the whole value chain, but actually the biggest challenge rests with consumers, because 53% of food in the EU is being wasted in households. And just to show you what this 1/3 actually means, if you so 1/3 of the world's food ends up in a rubbish bin. We do not consume it. It's produced but not consumed. Just think of being a car manufacturer, and 1/3 of every car. So if you produce 3 cars a day, that means at the end of the day, 1 car you just immediately move towards how do you say that in English, where they demolish cars. It's not used, it's not driven whatsoever. It immediately goes there. It's produced but not used, and that is what we do every day, all of us together with food. So it is really, really something important. And the demands on our food systems are only going to increase. So by 2050, there will be 10 billion people to feed, which also means we need to increase food production to make that possible. But food production also has a heavy toll on the environment. So to do that, we also need to do this sustainable. Think of food production. 26% of greenhouse gas emissions come from food productions, and 70% of the global freshwater withdrawals also go to the food industry. So there are really a lot from the environmental side challenges that we need to work on to be able to not only provide food, but also to take care of the planet that needs to deliver that food. So today, more than ever, we believe we need to support greatest entrepreneurial minds to develop solutions to these changes that we face as society. So we need to improve our agri-food sector, and we need to meet the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. And I'm really happy to hear, and Shima said it in her intro, that you are also looking into those, because these are really important, but also they bring a great scope for new ideas, these Sustainable Development Goals. And innovations in that area can lead, well, obviously to a solution for the problems, but it also provides opportunities for the agri-food business sector. So it's very, very important. And also, if you look at startups in the EU, actually, there are a lot of startups every year, but only 3.4% of all EU startups are actually in the agri-food sector. So there's also a lot still to do there. And we want to change that to cultivate a thriving entrepreneurial network that leads to more high impact agri-food startups. So I took a little bit of time to picture that, to paint that picture, but I think that picture is really important, and that's also why we are here as EIT Food, and why we are so driven and committed to the work that we do. So what we try at EIT Food is to find solutions to these challenges, but what we also know very much is we can't do this alone. So this is not something that we as EIT Food are solving. What we need and what we bring is more a system-wide approach. So we bring together innovative players across the food system to build a powerful community with the vision and skills to transform the future of our food. And it's actually a little bit the same as what you are doing with your network. Shima also said it in her intro. You want to transform, you need to do that together. You want to show all the good things that you have. And that is also what we do, but then in terms of the food system. And our strength really comes from our partners. So we represent over 85 of Europe's leading agri-food companies, research institutes, universities, and consumer organizations. We're still a very young organization, and we're still growing. So every year, this network and this group is becoming bigger and bigger. But I think the start, the basis is very strong, and is also helping us to do a lot of the work that we are doing today. And what do we do today? So we more or less have activities in 4 areas. Just want to tell you a little bit more about those areas. So first of all, education. Well, education is key. Knowledge is power, and the power to understand, to influence, and to create. And we as EIT Food want as many people as possible to care about our food system and help transform it. So this means for us arming them with knowledge, and we educate people at different points across the knowledge journey. So we help them to develop their understanding of food challenges or learn new skills. So this is really from professional development courses to dedicated master and PhD programs. But our education work really focuses on developing the talented leaders that we will need to make these radical changes needed for the food system. And innovation, of course, is the engine driving the changes we want to see. So what we do is we encourage it by bringing together these different players who then collaborate on developing innovative technologies, products, and services. So we are more or less, what we want is build and shape the innovators of tomorrow, where we have a bigger impact. So accelerating in that way this transformation. I already said something about startups before, the challenge there, and that is also why we focus so much on supporting entrepreneurs in their journey to the market. It's because entrepreneurs really play a critical role in transforming the food system by developing and scaling up solutions for this radical change. So turning a brilliant idea into a successful business is not easy. And that is why we give agri-food entrepreneurs the support they need at every stage of their journey. So from, for instance, understanding the market or growing internationally, from scaling up from an idea to a test surrounding. Building this community of entrepreneurs that have the passion and energy to drive the change is really important. And for this, we also have, let's say, a network within our network, what we call the Rising Food Stars, where we have a group of young startups with promising ideas that we bring into our network and co-develop together with our partners in projects. But of course, we also have other programs. I heard that there are some people from We Lead here, which is a project under, I believe, the guidance of Shima. But we also have other programs, accelerator networks, etc. in this area. And then we come to my, let's call it baby, public engagement. So definitely not the least, although it's the last in the row. And that is really engaging people. So here, what is really important and what I find very important, it's about trust. And trust is a critical foundation of our food system. And obviously things have happened in the past. So trust is not an easy word with regards to food, but also we are in circumstances that we can make safe choices about the food we buy and eat, and that is obviously really important. But it's more than that. Building this trust also means that we need to empower people with the information they need, that they really need to feel confident about science and new food technology. So it also means giving people the chance to engage in open and honest dialogue with experts. So by building trust, we believe we are actually making building the strongest agent of change, and that is us, the people. They are the key players in shaping tomorrow's food system. And we are actually measuring. So one of the things that is under my responsibility is also we are measuring changing levels of trust in the food system. And we do that through the EIT Food Trust Tracker. And this is a model developed by partners of EIT Food, in where we map European consumers' trust in the food value chain and its actors. So think of trust with regards to farmers, manufacturers, retailers, governments, but also with regards to, for instance, new technologies, new products, etc. So last year we collected data from 13 EU countries, from 10,000 citizens. And by 2024, we aim to have to do this with 174,000 citizens across all EIT Food regions. We are currently running the 2020 edition, and at the end of the year, we will bring out our first trust report, taking in both years. I'm going to be a bit cheeky, but if you're interested in that, I'm very interested in coming back and sharing what we have learned from there. So just putting it on the table. So public engagement, I touched upon it a little bit, but what our aim in here is to really create a new communication culture. So where consumers are not only informed about science and innovation, but they're also empowered to participate in the activities and debate with industry and academia. So what we want in this, what we need and want, is that we also understand thinking and behavior, and we also want to open up research and innovation. And how do we do that? We do that actually in different ways. So our public engagement program has different angles. So first of all is more the dialogue and engagement through events, which was till the beginning of the year. To those that arrived early, I already said a little bit on that. The beginning of the year was very much focused on physical events. So we do over about 400 events throughout Europe every year. Not just we as EIT Food, a lot of this is also driven by our partners. And we did also this dialogue and engagement via our public platform Food Unfolded, which is online, and we have a podcast series which is growing every year, which is called The Food Fight. So at the moment, the online, as you can imagine, the online items that we do are growing, and we are also quickly developing more online platforms and tools, because at the moment, more or less every country in Europe, it's very difficult to have physical events. What we also do is targeted advice and guidance. So for instance, ebooks, which help parents familiarize preschool children with a wide range of nutritious vegetables. And we do school programs, such as, for instance, the EIT Food School Network, which brings together key players to improve pupils' food choices and reduce food waste at schools. So it's a bit of a mix of activities that we do. One of our most visible activities is the digital platform Food Unfolded, and I wanted to use this opportunity to introduce Food Unfolded to you if you are not familiar with it yet. And also wanted to give you a little bit of a taste of it. So Food Unfolded is what we say the place to talk food. So just the secrets of wasabi, the origin of Indian spices, beef without cows, coffee beans, what we saw earlier, all kinds of topics, but these are just some of the subjects that consumers can read about on Food Unfolded. Food Unfolded is really the digital place where we try to reconnect people with the origins of their food, because we eat food a lot, but often we do not know really the origin of it. So for instance, okay, everybody had this question answered very well, so that's good. We all knew that a coffee bean was actually not a bean, but it's really about reconnecting. It's about enabling open dialogue on food between the different actors and the consumers. But behind making and eating food, there are so many things, and we try to, let's say, unpack, or as we say, unfold them one by one in Food Unfolded. So we take topics and then we tackle them from perspectives of sustainability, of ethics and policy, with the aim and the focus to increase their transparency in the food system and to help our audience make more conscious and balanced food decisions, because they can base them on better understanding of the complexity of the system and to have it have more knowledge about it. It's been launched in 2019, and well, it's a growing community both on Instagram and on the website. Before we also had physical events under the umbrella of Food Unfolded, but at the moment all our activities here obviously are online. And not sure if we have German and Spanish people joining, but at the moment Food Unfolded is only English, but this year a German and a Spanish version are following, and we will roll that out even further, because key for us in reaching people in Europe is obviously local language. Not everything can be in English. If you do it in English, you only reach a certain target group, and we want to reach a much broader target group. So we are also investing very much in going to local languages. What our hope is for this community is that it becomes a virtual space that bridges misunderstandings, but also fosters a new relationship between public, academia, experts, the food industry, based on being honest and building trust. So how do we work Food Unfolded? So how do we decide, for instance, what kind of topics we talk about? And I thought this might be of interest to you. So obviously, culturally linked content generates a lot of engagement, and we do a lot of polls through Food Unfolded, and this is also how I could view your answers compared to the Food Unfolded audience. But the polls get on average 500 to 1,000 people a week responding to them, and then we use them to see what kind of topics we need to introduce more in depth, and it can be controversial topics. So for instance, this one, lab-grown meat. This is well, at least a controversial topic. People, do you want to eat it? Do you not want to eat it? But we believe that our engaged community is a very good place to introduce and discuss such new food innovations. And actually, this was a video that had 78,000 video views and a big discussion online. And for us, we see this really as a way for growing knowledge and readiness towards acceptance of new food innovations. And when we were in the process of conceptualizing Food Unfolded, we actually found that consumers are very interested in topics relating to food, and they're also very interested in topics related to technology. But when we put the two together, food technology, people immediately become suspicious and scared. So that is really in their thoughts, if you talk about food technology, very quickly go towards manipulation and the like. So what we want to achieve with Food Unfolded, when we talk a lot about food technology, is that we want to grow curiosity and understanding around food and food tech, and bring such topics in that way. But we also use engagement to better understand our audience and what drives them, and also based on that shape what we are bringing on Food Unfolded. So, for instance, let's take sustainability and follow that path a little bit. So, we have found in own consumer work that although motivated by sustainability, many respondents don't feel that they understand how sustainability is linked to food production, and they don't feel that there is enough information or that there are enough sustainable products on the market at the moment. And maybe this is something you personally also recognize. So what we did was to dig a bit deeper, and we asked our community what they actually do try to be more sustainable in their food choices, how they think they can contribute to sustainability. And when we asked the question, what factors do you consider when buying sustainable food? What we got back a lot was the focus on local and packaging. And these are obviously things that we can see and also have our own immediate effect on them. Well, on top of that, of course, we've all seen pictures of sea animals covered with plastic waste, or islands of plastic waste floating in the middle of the ocean. So this is also something at the forefront of our minds, and it's in our own influence sphere, because you know that if you buy a soap bar instead of a soap in a plastic bottle, you can influence it. But actually, packaging is important, but in the grand scheme of things, it's maybe not the biggest villain in the sustainability story. So we also want to try to tell people the bigger story there. So big chart, but what it more or less comes down to is to depict that actually land use and farm stage emissions account for more than 80% of the footprint of most foods. But these are things that we as consumers don't necessarily see firsthand, and packaging is something that we do see. And it's also something that we can influence better. So we actually wanted to ask consumers a little bit further and see to what do you think about sustainable factors when you're buying food. So we drove them a little bit further in a certain direction, and then we asked them about what they felt about land use. And actually, when we asked about other factors and also put land use in the mix, we still saw that carbon footprint and animal welfare came back much higher in their feedback. And it's probably also because these are things that we are more familiar with. These kinds of insights and engagement is what drives our content on Food Unfolded. So, of course, we also cover packaging. It's something that people are interested in, and it's definitely important, and we should not neglect it. But we also want to bring more knowledge to consumers on the full range. And this means that we're trying to make the invisible more visible to the European citizen. So we try to inform what meets, we're trying to inform beyond what meets the eye in the supermarket or the local farmers markets. And these aspects maybe are not what is first of mind for a consumer, but we also believe that these are important, can have an enormous, if you're talking about sustainability, an enormous environmental impact. And we also want to drive discussion with people on that. So what we do is we ask questions, we provide information, and we engage in dialogue around the topics. Food Unfolded for us is really about increasing food system transparency and engaging in dialogue around food technology. And like I said in the beginning, reconnecting people with how food is made. And this is a little bit how we drive what we believe are the topics that we need to discuss. And actually, as you can see, we do not really drive them. They're also much driven through what comes back in discussions with our audience and how we follow up on that content-wise. So this is very much on what we did. I hope it was very interesting for you, and it maybe was a lot for 40 minutes, but yeah, like I said, I took my chance to tell you as much as possible here. And what I would like to end with is more a discussion, and I believe, Shima, you have set up discussion rooms, right? But I will leave it to you to explain that further. But maybe just to put the question out there. So EIT Food wants to deliver radical change on how food is innovated, produced, and valued by society. And I have a unique opportunity here because I have here also a network that is driving change and impact, raising visibility. For you, it's to the great work done by women, but still, it's in the heart we are very much around the same goals. We all believe that no one will be able to solve the problems alone. That's why we all gathered in networks. I would like to invite you to use your strengths and your personal strengths as a consumer and the strength of your network, but in engaging in a discussion is, we are very passionate about the role for the consumer in the change, but do you also agree with that? Do you also see a role for the consumer? And when you say consumer, we actually say you and me, obviously, in this change. And what would that be, in your opinion?